This week's letter is from Caroline, and Caroline writes, "Hi, Lauren. I'm so stuck and sad. I was in an affair with a married man, and I'm also married. I've been for almost 30 years. The affair started in early 2022, but the flirting started about 10 years before. My married affair partner pursued me for 10 years. The night I leaned in and kissed him is a blur to me. I don't even know why I did it. Even after that night, I was sick about it and felt so much guilt and sadness. We agreed that it was a mistake and we loved our spouses and it would never happen again. Well, it happened again. I told him that we can't really do this. What's the end result? We leave our marriages? No. And he agreed. But he still pursued, and I still responded to his pursuits. This physical and emotional affair went on for a year. He ended it after his wife started questioning him, but it didn't really stop for the next 2 years. It lessened, but the connection was always there, along with the passion. He and his wife moved away a month ago, and he told me that we need distance and we can only be friends. I just feel so sad and used. My marriage is a mess, and I think I helped his marriage. I always feel like he does truly love me, but he knows that he can't. I'm in a place that I never thought I would be. I'm a rule follower and not a breaker. How do I get over this? There's so much more to this story. This is just a tiny glimpse. Thank you for listening, Caroline. There is always so much more to the story, and everything that we get, whether it's in our sessions or in these letters, is just a tiny glimpse. And that's part of why this work after infidelity is so important, because each person needs to unpack their unique life circumstances, what the affair meant to them, what the affair meant for them, and what they uniquely need moving forward. When I think about Caroline's letter, I think about the fact that she began this affair with a tremendous amount of resistance. She did give into it. And she says when it started, she was sick with guilt and sadness. As the affair ends now, I would encourage her to go back to those original feelings and say, when this began, I did not want this guilt and sadness. I did not want this relationship, because what is the end result? And here you are now, Caroline, at the end result, and it's painful. And that is hallmark to an affair, that unless it goes on forever, which is rare, there will be pain at the end. And so think about the fact that you're at the inevitable end point of the thing that you knew would end. And for you to feel sad and stuck is a completely normal response. Michelle, what's coming up for you around this letter?
For me, it is has that line in there where she says, "I always feel like he truly does love me, but he knows that he can't." But I just feel like what after that, when she talks about how her marriage is a mess, not dealing with her marriage or whatever's going on with her marriage and keeping herself distracted by this fantasy of why it had to end and why it didn't work, of how the affair was for her. What is he thinking and trying to get in her affair partner's head is really thinking that's not helpful to her current situation. She acknowledges her marriage is a mess. We don't know exactly what that means or how it got there. We're not sure either if her spouse found out. Like there's a lot of details again that we are not aware of. But what I worry about is her using this ending of the affair, probably potentially how she was using the affair itself as a distraction to disconnect from whatever issues are in her marriage. And so kind of getting caught up in this fantasy of he loved me, but we can't be together. So really, does that answer really matter? I feel that he loves me, but he can't. I'm just not sure where it's relevant in terms of dealing with her marriage. And so I just worry about her not doing the work that she needs to do in her marriage, whatever that looks like, and resolving that, as opposed to being overly concerned about where her affair partner's head space is at, if you will.
You want her to be more self-connected now that the relationship's over, and you want her to be more in the here and now, is what I'm hearing you say, because all that's just a distraction to keep her feeling like crap when there are things that she can do with this experience and with the marriage that's right in front of her and with her own feelings in order to begin to heal and move forward from this. The thing that's coming up for me and this is so common when an affair ends, is that she's putting herself in the one down position. She's putting him up in this power position, and there's a differential between how she sees him and how she sees herself. And yet the two of them were equally in an affair. They were both married. They were both in an affair. So yes, he might have been the one to end it, even though she had resisted at the beginning because he moved away and he's the one who's now drawing the boundary. But my question to her is, why are you feeling so victimized, and why are you diminishing yourself? You were on equal footing here, and you really still are. And so what I think about is that there's probably an attachment wound for her to work on here. And I would encourage her to do some work on her attachment pattern and whether there's been any kind of attachment wound in her history, in her childhood, even an attachment wound in her marriage that this is reenacting. Because that's when I see, and you probably do too, Michelle, this kind of dialogue about an affair ending. So instead of empowering herself, and again, this is a loss of a relationship. Of course, there's going to be grief. There's going to be sadness, right? There's going to be all of the things we always talk about. And you are diminishing yourself at the same time. And your self-worth and your self-esteem needs to be restored around this, because this letter is written in a way that suggests that she feels abandoned by her affair partner, and that her self-worth and her self-esteem and her marriage and how she feels connected or not in it took an extreme hit. So I would encourage Caroline to really reflect on everything I just said. Why are you in the one down position? Why are you diminishing yourself? Why is there a power differential here when, you didn't want this relationship to begin with? Why are you feeling like you're in such a mess, but his marriage has been helped? Why are you creating all of these narratives that put you all the way down here and put him all the way up here? And what kind of historical wound is this reminiscent of, if at all? What do you think, Michelle?
I totally agree, and I get this feeling like that she feels like duped almost, like she
Mhm.
kinda got, like, suckered into this affair, and then she got kinda wrapped up in it, she never won, and then he takes off. It's like, "Wait a second, you flipped the script on me, like, I'm the one that didn't wanna be here." And I do think that there's this feeling of, like, this abandonment or feeling just really insecure around this. So, I did think of just some, self-compassion work in this area as well um, that she found herself here.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Some self-compassion.
Yeah.
It's you can be a rule follower, not a breaker. You can have resisted this. You can have all of those truths and it still happened. And instead of taking this as only a loss, maybe take his moving away as a gift. And so that's what I just want to leave Caroline with is it's all in the narrative we create as well. And if the narrative you create is he took advantage of me, he pursued me, I then gave in and then he moved away and his marriage is better, that's the narrative you're going to have. But can you explore other narratives? And can you perhaps think about his moving away as a good thing for you? Everything that happens to us in our life also happens for us. And it's up to us to figure out how this is happening in our favor. What is this showing me that I need to work on? What is this giving me now that I have this loss in my life? It doesn't need to diminish the fact that it's extremely painful, but it also can still be the right thing. And so let him move away. Let him say that the relationship's over and go back to that person you were that didn't want this relationship in the first place and ground yourself in that version of yourself that wants to be free and clear of this kind of relationship behavior in your life. And then start to rebuild from there. Start to rebuild yourself. Start to rebuild your self trust. Start to rebuild your sense of self. Who am I? Who do I want to be in the world? How do I want to be in my relationships? How do I want to treat people? How do I want to feel? How do I want to make other people feel? What's my most authentic, honest version of myself? And how do I really stay mindful and try to bring that version into the world? Try to create some good for yourself out of the space that the void of this relationship loss has left. And I hope you can heal, Caroline. And thank you for writing.